Hey, Cybertron here, and today I'm doing a video on the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Battle Across Time 2-pack Mirage and Grimlock. So I'm going to start with Grimlock. Now this probably isn't what you think of when you think of the name Grimlock. You probably think of the big grey and gold T-Rex, right? Well, this is actually Beast Wars Grimlock, who originally was a repaint of the original Beast Wars Dinobot, which is why this guy is a repaint of the Kingdom Dinobot. Now, the colour scheme isn't completely accurate to the original toy, but to be honest, I prefer this colour scheme. So, I do not have the Kingdom Dinobot, so I can't compare him to it. The articulation on this guy is pretty good. He's got swivels here at the arms that allow them to move all around, as well as hinges so that they can move out. There is a hinge here at the elbow that allows them to move forward and back, and he's got a ball joint at the hand. The hand does a little weird, it kind of droops down like that, which is kind of odd. But, it could be better. The legs are on limited movement. They can move out, but they can't move forward or back. And the knee kind of has a bend, but it's not all that useful unless you want to have it go forward like that. And there is a bend at the foot, as well as a swivel right above it. And the toes and the thing at the back can move. The tail is also on a... Oh, I was going to say it's on a swivel, but it's not. There's a bit there stopping it. The head does have some movement. The mouth... I'm going to be careful with this. You'll see why later. The mouth can open and close like this. And the rest of the head can move up and down like this. But that's about it for the articulation. So for size comparison, here it is next to Optimus Prime, Earthrise Optimus. Very, very big dinosaur. And I don't have another Voyager class beast former. The closest thing I have to this guy is this deluxe class T-Rex, which to be honest isn't really all that different. Like, this guy's obviously very thicker, but I don't think it looks all that bad together. I mean, maybe if they remolded the head, they could have this just be a Velociraptor. Now, of course, this guy isn't actually a Velociraptor, he's a Deinonychus, but let's not bother getting into dinosaur stuff. That will just... yeah, it'll end up complicating things. Now, speaking of dinosaurs, I know what I've just said, I'm nothing but inconsistent. Here is my custom LEGO Creator 3-in-1 Mighty Dinosaur Deinonychus, aka the Jurassic World Velociraptor, or Park Velociraptor. Anyway, for transformation on this guy, I'm going to be careful for reasons you will see later. But you want to come to the tail and just pull it off like that. Oh, also, yeah, the back of this guy doesn't look great, but whatever. You're then going to come to the head, and this will fold down like this. It will push this little bit in, like that. Then you want to come to the legs, move them out to the side. These pieces will detach like this. It is a pain in the backside to get them back in, which is a shame, but this is the end result. You'll see the end result later. I think it's probably worth it. Then you want to close this piece around. That will go flat. And this little piece will come out like that. And that is one robot leg. You want to do the same with the other side. This just comes out. That closes around it. That folds flat and this flips out. Then you just want to move this entire section up. So once you've got this up out of the way, you want to come down here and just swivel this piece around. You want to come here. These pieces will open up. Well, actually, first you want to move these bits back on this hinge here. Then these will open up. Same on this side. Move it back on the right hinge. There we go. And open this up. Then you want to just untab this piece. This will move to the back. This will fold down. This entire section will move back like that. Then right here, this little groove is for this notch here. That'll go in there. And then there's a little tab there that will go into the back of the head there. Just like that. Then the side panels will fold down. Then the hands will tab into the arms. Then these will fold all around like that. There's a little slot in the middle finger, and there's this little tab there, and that will just tab it together. You want to do the same on this side. Move this all around, and that will tab into place there. Then you want to move the arms down, turn them around, down, forward, swivel around, and close like that. And same on this side, just turn it all around like that. And then you want to come to the back. There are these little tabs on the side of this, and there are little slots on either side of here, and that will just go into place. It does require a little bit of like flexing of the plastic or just a lot of force to get that in there, but there you go. And there is Grimlock in his robot mode. So Grimlock in his robot mode does look pretty cool, I gotta say. I think it's a shame that the black of the raptor head doesn't carry over to the fake raptor head on the chest, and also that the eyes aren't painted. But if the eyes were painted, it would look a little bit weird in beast mode, which it does on the Grimlock, on the Dinobot even. And as you can see, he has a different head to the Dinobot figure. I'm not sure if this is a reference to like the toy head, or maybe the mutant head. It was obviously not the mutant head. I think this is probably the toy head, but I might be wrong. The articulation on this guy is pretty good. He's got swivel at the shoulder, as well as a hinge here and a hinge here, so his arm can move all the way up. There is a swivel at the bicep, as well as a bend at the elbow, a swivel at the wrist, and sort of like a wrist side-to-side movement, which is actually quite unique for Transformers. And the hand can open and close, which is quite nice. The head is on a ball joint, can move all around. The waist has a swivel. It seems like it can move side to side a little bit as well. I'm not sure if that means it's broken or not. I hope not. The legs can move forward that far and not really back that much unless you move it out to the side. It can move out that much. It's got a swivel here and a bend there, as bend there. It's got ankle pivot like that, and the foot can move up and down like that. So yeah, this guy's pretty damn articulated, and you can get him into quite a few poses. If I had a golden disc, then I could have him holding it up in his hand like that. Although that's more of a Dinobot thing to do rather than a Grimlock thing to do. I imagine this guy, because I don't think this guy ever shows up in media. He might be in like one of the Japanese Beast Wars seasons, but I'm not sure. So I imagine him as sort of like a Cyberverse Grimlock. Coincidentally, actually, a Cyberverse Grimlock type personality. Robot mode personality, not beast mode personality. Also, you might remember we pulled the tail off. Now, you don't actually have to pull this off for transformation. It can stay on the back here. But let's be honest, that doesn't look very good. But this actually opens up to become his spinning shield and sword weapon. The shield can peg into his hand very simply, and it looks very goofy, as it does in the show. And I said his spinning shield and sword weapon. It's Dinobot. He's a repainted Dinobot. It looks just as goofy as it did in the show with Dinobot. But I gotta say, it looks cool, though, at the same time. It's goofy, but it's very cool. Now, for size comparison, here he is, again, next to Paleotrex, which I don't think I mentioned earlier. His name is Paleotrex, he's from Kingdom, he's a deluxe, blah, 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 blah. As you can see, the size difference is completely different. Obviously, this guy's got huge arms, but, it's interesting, just quite the size difference there. And here he is, of course, as always, next to Optimus Prime. And he's a pretty beefy Voyager, but he's not quite as tall as Optimus. And finally, just because, here it is next to the custom Lego Deinonychus. And yes, I am using a base. I tried to film this section 2 times already, but he would not stand up, even though he was standing up fine on the desk. It's just on the paper, he didn't want to stand up. Moving on to Mirage, as you can see, here he is in his Formula 1 race car mode. Now, this mode isn't 100% accurate to the original G1 cartoon, but it looks a lot better, I gotta say. That original car mode, even if it is a real car, which I don't know if it is, it just kind of looks very goofy in my opinion. I really like the blue and white breakup that it's got here, and it's got this Autobot insignia on the front, which is a little tiny bit misaligned, but for the most part it looks fine. The painted white parts here also look really nice, especially being painted onto blue. It looks quite good. It's got this 26 on the side, which is quite nice. It rolls decently well. It does have some weapon storage as well, even though it's a little subpar. It's alright. So he's got this gun that simply tabs there, and this missile launcher that you need to turn the missile, and then that will just plug into the same place on the opposite side. And yeah, that weapon storage isn't great, is it? It's fine. You're never going to display it like that, and most people, including me, have an accessories bag that I just put everything in. For comparison, here he is, of course, next to Kingdom, aka Earthrise Optimus, looking, you know, way out of proportion, but not awful. And here he is also next to Kingdom Sideswipe, another deluxe class car, which, yes, I reviewed recently. So now getting on to transformation, what you're going to want to do is you want to come to the spoiler at the back here and split it apart like this. Then you want to come to this section. This will also split apart. Then you want to move them up on these white pieces like this, and just move it out to the side like that. Then you're going to want to come down to this bottom section and split it apart like that. You're going to want to come to this blue bit and bring it down like this. This wheel section will fold around. This will fold out. The foot will flip out. And then these will collapse onto each other, and the entire leg will spin around like that. You're then going to want to do the same on the other side. So this entire section comes out. This piece flips around. This folds round. Flip out the foot, and that folds down and tabs into place. And then spin it around. Apparently don't tab into place. There we go. Then you want to come to this top section here. This will accordion down like that. Come to the back. This piece will untab like this, and this piece will fold around and tab into place like that. This will fold up, tab into the back, and then these wheels will fold around into the chest like this, and then these arms will fold down, and same on this side, like this. You want to take these spoiler pieces, flip them up, and then just flip out the hands like that. And there is Mirage in robot mode. So in Mirage's robot mode, he actually has a faux chest piece. This isn't in fact the front of the vehicle mode. That is, of course, in the legs. And even if it were, it wouldn't have this detailing here on the front. Now, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure if this 26 Orc is actually from the original G1 figure or not, and I can't be asked to check. The look of this guy is pretty nice. The head sculpt is pretty accurate to the original design, maybe a little bit off, but for the most part looks pretty nice. And that is sort of the overall general feel of this figure, like not 100% accurate to the G1 model, but pretty nice. The articulation on the head, it's on a fairly limited ball joint, so it can look up and down a little bit, and it can swivel all around. The arms are on a swivel, so they can move around like that, and a hinge there. There is also a hinge here if you wanted to get it up more, like this. There is a swivel at the bicep, as well as a hinge at the elbow, which allows you to get roughly 90 degrees. There is no wrist swivel, but it can bend inwards. There is a swivel at the waist. The legs can move forward that far, and back that far. There is a thigh swivel. There is a bend at the knee, which is a little bit over a 90, and a pivot at the ankle, just a little bit. Now, if you undo this a little bit, you can get a sort of ab crunch, but the more you do it, just the taller he ends up looking. But I think for a little bit, it doesn't look too bad. You can get that sort of like, I don't know, anime crutch, thrust thing, sorta. But he looks a bit too tall when you do that. Now, of course, he does have his two accessories. His gun, which very easily just pegs into his hand like that. And now this is where we get a little silly. His missile launcher. Now, if you're familiar at all with Mirage, you know that this pegs into his shoulder. On the top of his shoulder. But as you can see, there is no peg. It should go about here. But there's nowhere to peg it into. It's very silly, especially since the original Siege version did in fact have a peg there. Now that does not mean the Siege one is better at all. The legs are completely clear plastic. And if you don't know, clear plastic is incredibly brittle. But that doesn't mean you can't somewhat fake a look for this. There is this peg in the back, but it's too big for anything. Like, nothing fits in there. It's very weird. But there is this peg on the back of the arm, which somewhat works. It's not the best, but I think it'll do for the most part. Now, you can move his shoulder down like this to get it going forwards, or you can bend him over a bit as well to sort of get it look like it's going forwards. But it just doesn't really work too well. And you can pull this out, you know, to make it look like it's shot. All you can do is that. I mean, that's like the best you can probably do. I'm sure there's some upgrade kits out there, but maybe I'll buy one. I don't know. So for size comparison, here he is next to Sideswipe. They are pretty much the same size, which, you know, it's nice to have multiple characters who are roughly the same size. It just makes everyone feel a little bit more similar. And here he is next to Optimus. Just more of that 86 feeling, like I said in the previous Transformer review. And here are both Grimlock and Mirage together. If you've been following my Transformers videos recently, then you might know that I've been hinting at something. I can't remember if it started in the Christmas haul or in the top 10 Transformers of 2021, but I know I mentioned it in those, and I think in the previous two Transformers videos I also mentioned it in those. And well, it's that this isn't my first version of this 2-pack. My original Grimlock's head broke off. And that sucked. Because not only did it break off, but it broke off after only about 6 transformations. Which was silly. And I wasn't bending it or anything. I just moved it. I think I opened the mouth and it snapped off. I didn't open it far or anything. And yeah, that was annoying. It probably would have made it to the top 10 if it hadn't have broken. But that's not the only thing. You see, the thing is that they couldn't just send me the replacement Grimlock. They had to send me the replacement of 2 of them. And, you know, they had to send me the whole 2-pack. And you see, that's where another issue comes in, is that, well, this head is incredibly loose. I'm surprised it did not come off during the transformation, because it pretty much always does. So I had a good Mirage that had no problems, and a Grimlock where the head broke off. The Beast Mode head, I should say, broke off. I send it back, they send me a replacement where Mirage's head falls off. That is ridiculous. I mean, I know it's nowhere near as big as issues as some people have, and I'm sure it probably won't be the biggest issue I have. Because, well, let's just say that recently I got a figure that's notorious for breaking, and, well, it's cracking. Anyway, if I can get this head back on, bloody hell. I don't usually take it off when the wheels are there, but, oh, do you know what, whatever. I'll fix that later. But, Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this video. My links are in the description below. So I guess that's Salut BC out.